Stories number 1. My wife announced her pregnancy on her sister's birthday, and I told her it was a horrible thing to do. So I'm Daniel, 34M. My wife Jessica, 32F, and I have been married for 7 years. We've got 2 kids already, Lucas, 6M, and Hannah, 3F. Our marriage hasn't always been smooth sailing, mostly because we've had a rough road with pregnancies. Jessica has had multiple miscarriages, and after Hannah was born she also went through postpartum depression. Those were some of the hardest years of our lives, and I know pregnancy isn't just another thing for her. It's tied up with trauma, fear, and vulnerability. About a month ago, Jessica found out she was pregnant again. Baby number 3. When she told me, we both cried. I was excited but cautious. She was excited but also scared because of her history. I understood that. She said she wanted to tell people early this time so she'd have support no matter what happened. I didn't argue because I could see how much that mattered to her. But then came her sister's birthday. The birthday dinner, Jessica's younger sister Amanda, turning 30F, had a big family dinner at their parents' house. Amanda's the kind of person who doesn't always love being the center of attention, but since it was her 30th, everyone was making a big deal. Balloons, a cake with Dirty 30 on it. The works. Jessica and Amanda are close, but not without complications. Amanda has confided in both of us before that she's been nervous about fertility. She hasn't tried to have kids yet, but she's been open that she's worried about running out of time. She gets kind of sensitive when people around her announce pregnancies. Jessica knows this. She's listened to Amanda vent about it before. So we're all at the table, eating lasagna, telling old stories, and Amanda is glowing because everyone's making her feel celebrated. Right as dessert is coming out, Jessica clears her throat and goes, "Well, since we're all here together, I wanted to share some exciting news. I'm pregnant." Everyone gasps and claps, and her mom immediately bursts into tears. Happy tears. Her dad hugs her. People are congratulating us, and the room shifts completely from "Happy birthday, Amanda" to Jessica's having a baby. And I swear, I saw Amanda's face fall. She smiled, but it was that tight smile you give when you're trying not to cry. The fallout after. The rest of the night was basically everyone fawning over Jessica, talking baby names, telling her how strong she is, asking how far along she is. Amanda blew out her candles and opened her gifts, but it felt like the energy had shifted. Like her birthday got hijacked. On the drive home, I asked Jessica why she picked that moment. She told me she wanted everyone to know right away because she needed support this time, and she figured since we were all together, it was the perfect opportunity. I said, "But did it have to be on Amanda's birthday? You couldn't have done it the day before, or even the day after. It just felt insensitive." Jessica got defensive right away. She said, "So I'm not allowed to be happy? I'm not allowed to share my news? You know what I've been through, Daniel. You know how scary this is for me." I told her I do know, but that doesn't erase the fact that it was Amanda's night, and she deserved to have her moment without being overshadowed. I admit I lost my temper. I said, "Honestly, Jess, it was a horrible thing to do. You made your sister's 30th birthday all about you." She went quiet after that. The aftermath at home. It's been a month since then, and she's still mad at me. She says I should have supported her instead of tearing her down. She says that after everything she's been through, the miscarriages, the postpartum depression, the last thing she needed was her husband calling her a horrible person. And, look, maybe I could have chosen better words. Maybe I should have said thoughtless instead of horrible. But I can't shake the feeling that it was wrong. We come from a big family, and birthdays, weddings, baby showers, they matter. Jessica knows Amanda's insecurities. She knows Amanda's sensitive about babies, and she knows how important this milestone birthday was, and she still chose to make it her announcement day. Family reactions. Here's where it gets tricky. Amanda hasn't said a word to us about it. She texted Jessica the next day saying, "Congrats, love you guys." But since then, she's been quieter. No real check-ins, no big sisterly chats. I think she's hurt, but she doesn't want to start a fight. Jessica's mom, on the other hand, pulled me aside a week later and said, "Don't be hard on Jessica. She needs this joy," which made me feel like the villain, like I'm the only one pointing out that Amanda basically had her birthday hijacked. Even Emily, my 16-year-old niece, Amanda's daughter, made a little comment to my kids when we were over there last weekend. Mom didn't even get to finish opening her presents before Grandma started talking about baby names. So yeah, people noticed. Where I'm stuck now, Jessica still insists she did nothing wrong. She's convinced that Amanda doesn't care, or that even if she did, her pregnancy news matters more. I don't agree. I think both things matter, and she could have chosen any other day. The worst part? I'm frustrated because I feel like I can't talk about this with anyone in my family without looking like the bad guy. To them, I'm the husband who called his pregnant wife horrible while she's in a vulnerable state. To me, I was just the one person honest enough to call it what it was. And now Jessica's holding it against me, saying I'm not supportive. She's even told a couple of her friends about it. And now I'm getting the side-eye from them too. So here I am, a month later, still stewing about something that apparently no one else wants to acknowledge. Update. My wife announced her pregnancy on her sister's birthday, and I told her it was a horrible thing to do. Hey everyone, thanks for all the comments on my original post. I read a ton of them, and it honestly helped me step back and see things from angles I hadn't considered. Some of you thought I was too harsh with my words, others thought Jessica was way out of line, and a few of you suggested therapy, which, yeah, that might be in our future. A lot has happened since I posted, so here's where things stand. The silence from Amanda. After that birthday dinner, Amanda went kind of quiet. She didn't start a fight, but she wasn't texting Jessica as often, and when we saw her at family stuff, she was polite but distant. Jessica noticed, but brushed it off with, "She's just busy with work." I wasn't so sure. Amanda's always been really close with Jessica, and the distance felt intentional. A couple of weeks ago, Jessica finally asked Amanda directly if she was upset. Amanda admitted she felt overshadowed. She said, "I wanted one day that was about me. Just one. And I love you, Jess, and I'm happy for you, but it stung." Jessica came home furious. Not at Amanda. At me. She said I had poisoned Amanda by making her feel like she should be upset. I swear on my life, I never said a word to Amanda. I didn't even hint at it. Amanda came to that conclusion on her own. But Jessica refused to believe me, my words. Come back to haunt me. Jessica still hasn't let go of the horrible person comment. She brings it up constantly. Anytime I try to talk about how we should handle family dynamics or even just daily stuff, she'll throw it back in my face. Oh, but I'm a horrible person, right? It's exhausting. I've apologized for using that word. I told her it was harsh and I should have said insensitive or thoughtless. She'll nod, but then the next argument. It's back again like I never said sorry. Family drama I didn't expect. Here's where it gets messier. Jessica's mom, Carol, got wind of Amanda being hurt. I don't know if Amanda told her directly, or if Carol just noticed, but Carol called me. Not Jessica, me. She said, "Daniel, I need you to stop making Jessica feel bad. She's pregnant, she's vulnerable, and she needs your support." I told her I am supporting Jessica, but that I can't pretend what happened wasn't insensitive. Carol basically told me to drop it for the sake of peace, which honestly made me feel like I was losing my mind. I'm the only one who actually sees how Jessica steamrolled Amanda's birthday, and instead of addressing that, everyone just wants me to be quiet. Where I stand with Jessica now. Our marriage has been tense. She's more emotional than usual. Understandable, she's pregnant. But I feel like I can't be honest with her without being punished. If I bring up anything uncomfortable, she throws the horrible person thing at me. If I say nothing, I feel like I'm just enabling her. I've been helping more with the kids, picking up slack around the house, and trying to show her I'm supportive. But there's this wall between us now. She keeps saying, "I don't even know if you're happy about this baby, since all you can do is criticize me." That one hurt. I am happy. I want this baby. But I also want to live in reality, where our actions affect other people, and where hijacking someone's milestone day is inconsiderate. Amanda's side, Amanda, to her credit, has been gracious. She and I had a quick conversation at a family BBQ where she said, "Look, I don't want this to turn into a huge fight. I'm not holding a grudge, but it did sting. I'll get over it. Don't stress." She's a better person than I am, honestly. If the roles were reversed, I'd be salty for a while. What I've learned so far, words matter. Calling Jessica a horrible person might have been my honest feeling in the moment, but it gave her a weapon to use against me forever. Families will avoid conflict at all costs, even if it means gaslighting you into thinking you imagined the problem. My wife doesn't see herself as wrong in this situation, and maybe never will. And I have to figure out if I can live with that. Where we go from here, we've agreed to go to couples counseling. Jessica thinks it'll help me learn to be more supportive. I'm hoping it'll help us actually communicate without every hard conversation turning into me being the villain. Amanda and Jessica are slowly talking more, though it's a little forced. I think their relationship will bounce back, but it won't be the same for a while. As for me, I'm just trying to focus on being a good dad and a present husband while also not losing myself in this mess. So yeah, that's where things stand. I still don't think I was wrong to call out what happened, but I do regret the words I used. Jessica may never forgive me for that one sentence, and I honestly don't know how to fix that. Final update. My wife announced her pregnancy on her sister's birthday, and I told her it was a horrible thing to do. It's been about 7 months since my last update, and a lot has happened. I wanted to close this out because the situation has run its course, and I think I finally see where everyone stands. The pregnancy and our marriage. Jessica's pregnancy has been tough. She's had complications. Nothing catastrophic, but enough to make things stressful. Bed rest for a few weeks, extra doctor visits, lots of hormones and emotions. I did my best to step up. I handled the kids more, did most of the cooking, and made every appointment with her. I kept telling myself, be supportive, be steady. But the horrible person comment never fully left the room. Anytime I'd push back on something, even something small, Jessica would sigh and mutter, "Well, I guess I'm just horrible, right?" It became this thorn in our marriage. I apologized more than once, but the sting stayed. I started to realize that it wasn't just about the word. It was about Jessica needing constant reassurance that she wasn't the bad guy, even when her actions had hurt others. Amanda and Jessica's relationship. Amanda and Jessica slowly started talking again, but it was fragile. Then Amanda dropped her own bombshell. She got engaged. Her fiancé, Ryan, 31M, proposed on a weekend trip. When Amanda announced it, everyone was thrilled, but Jessica instantly made it about her. She whispered to me later, "Watch, she's going to plan her wedding during my pregnancy and make me feel invisible." I told her to knock it off. This wasn't a competition. Amanda was finally having her own big milestone, and she deserved it. To her credit, Amanda handled things with a lot of grace. She actually pulled Jessica aside privately and said, "I want you to be part of my wedding, but I also know you're pregnant and it might be overwhelming. Tell me what works for you." That conversation thawed a lot of the tension. For the first time in months, Jessica admitted to me, "Okay, maybe I was insensitive at her birthday." That was the closest thing to an apology Amanda ever got, but it was something. The baby arrives. Fast forward. Jessica gave birth to a healthy baby boy, Ethan. Labor was rough, but everything turned out fine. I can't even describe the relief of holding him in my arms after all the fear and stress of her pregnancy. Here's the part that surprised me. Amanda showed up at the hospital with flowers, balloons, and even a little care package for Jessica. She hugged her and said, "I'm so happy for you," and I watched Jessica break down crying. I think in that moment she realized that Amanda had every reason to be bitter, but instead she chose kindness. Where things stand now. Jessica. She still struggles with insecurity, but since Ethan was born, she's been softer. Postpartum this time has been a little better, maybe because she feels supported. She hasn't brought up the horrible person comment in months, which feels like a miracle. Amanda. She's planning her wedding now, and for once, she's the one in the spotlight. Jessica seems to be respecting that, even offering to help with bridal shower stuff. It feels like their relationship is on the mend. Me. I've learned that being right doesn't always matter in a marriage. Sometimes timing, tone, and compassion matter more. Do I still think Jessica was wrong for hijacking Amanda's birthday? Absolutely. Do I regret calling her a horrible person? Also yes. Those words lived rent-free in our marriage for almost A year. Final reflections. This whole saga taught me a lot. People can do thoughtless things without being malicious. Families often sweep stuff under the rug, but that doesn't mean the hurt isn't there. Words spoken in anger have a long shelf life, especially in marriage. Amanda and Ryan's wedding is coming up next summer, and I think it'll be a turning point. For once, Jessica won't be pregnant, grieving, or recovering, and I'm hoping she can just celebrate her sister without baggage. As for me, I'm going to keep being the guy who says the uncomfortable truths. But I'm working on delivering them in ways that don't burn everything down. So yeah, that's the end of this saga. The baby's healthy, the sisters are speaking again, and I'm cautiously optimistic that we're moving past this chapter, thanks to everyone who weighed in on my original post. You helped me see that honesty and compassion can coexist, even in messy family dynamics. Stories number 2. My boyfriend, 33M, has decided to optimize our relationship. And I'm losing my mind. Hi Reddit. I'm Hannah, 30F, and I've been dating my boyfriend Ethan, 33M, for 8 months. Up until recently, everything felt pretty great. We clicked right away, had similar senses of humor, enjoyed traveling, binge-watching trashy TV, and just being together. Honestly, I thought this was the healthiest relationship I'd been in for a long time. But then about 3 weeks ago, Ethan came back from a work training seminar on process efficiency and decided to apply it to us. At first I laughed when he told me. He came home super energized, rambling about workflow, optimization, measurable outcomes. I teased him like, "What are you going to do, make a PowerPoint about date night?" He grinned and said, "That's actually not a bad idea. I thought he was joking." Spoiler, he was not. The relationship debriefs. Every Sunday night now, Ethan schedules what he calls a relationship debrief. We literally sit down on the couch with his laptop, and he pulls up a shared Google Doc labeled Hannah and Ethan Relationship Tracker. The doc has sections: strengths this week, weaknesses this week, action items for improvement. The first week, it was sort of funny. He noted that we'd gone out to dinner 3 times, that I'd texted him good morning on most weekdays, and that we'd had a small argument about laundry but resolved it quickly. I joked that it felt like a performance review, and he actually said, "That's exactly the model. It works in business, so why not here?" The escalation week 2, he started keeping metrics. He made a chart of how many nights we'd spent together, how many times we'd had sex, and how many hours we'd spent on quality time activities. He literally drew trend lines. When I asked if he was serious, he said, "Data reveals patterns. This way we can prevent issues before they grow." That same week, he brought up that we'd only texted 15 times during work hours compared to 24 times the week before. He actually asked, "Is there a reason for the drop in engagement?" I told him, "Yeah, I was slammed with deadlines, Ethan. I can't always be on my phone." He wrote it down as an external factor impacting communication, where I started losing it. Last Sunday, I said I was too tired to do the debrief. I'd had a brutal week at work and just wanted to watch a movie and crash. Ethan got frustrated and said, "You're not engaging with the process, and consistency is key." That was when I snapped. I told him, "I don't want our relationship to feel like a Six Sigma project. I want it to feel like 2 people who love each other." He got defensive and insisted, "This isn't about spreadsheets. This is about us being the strongest team we can be." I said, "Ethan, I don't want to be a team member. I want to be your girlfriend." It ended with him sulking and me going to bed alone. My friends' reactions. When I told my friends, they laughed their asses off. My best friend Samantha, 30F, said, "Please tell me he doesn't make you fill out a survey." My other friend Marcus, 31M, said, "Honestly, this is genius. Can he optimize my dating life too?" They think I should just play along because it's harmless, but it doesn't feel harmless. It feels exhausting, like I have a full-time job already. I don't need a second one called girlfriend performance management. Why I'm torn: here's the thing. Ethan is genuinely kind in other ways. He's supportive, affectionate, and funny. He brings me coffee in the mornings, remembers little details about things I say, and tells me every day that he loves me. This optimization obsession is the one thing driving me nuts. Part of me wonders if I'm being overly sensitive, since he's clearly coming from a place of wanting us to succeed. But another part of me is worried this is who he is. Someone who can't separate work from real life, who needs to measure everything to feel secure. And honestly, the more I resist it, the more tension it creates. So Reddit? Am I overreacting for wanting him to stop turning our relationship into a weekly meeting? Or is this as weird as it feels to me? Update. My boyfriend, 33M, has decided to optimize our relationship, and I'm losing my mind high again. Reddit. I posted a couple weeks ago about my boyfriend Ethan turning our relationship into a series of process reviews and tracking. Everything like a business project. I didn't expect the post to get as much attention as it did, but reading through the comments and laughing, crying at some of the brutal but fair takes was eye-opening. I wanted to give an update because a lot has happened since then. The aftermath of my post after I posted, I decided to bring it up again with Ethan, but I tried to do it in a calmer, more constructive way. Instead of saying, "This makes me feel like I'm in a performance review," which triggers his whole defense mode, I told him, "I love that you care about us enough to want to work on things, but this system is making me feel drained instead of closer to you. Can we find a middle ground?" He said he understood, but then he pulled out his laptop and asked if I'd be willing to brainstorm alternative optimization methods. I just stared at him. The feedback form incident. The next week, Ethan handed me a printed feedback form. Like, literally, a sheet of paper with questions such as, "What did you feel went well in our relationship this week? What could I improve upon as your partner? On a scale of 1 to 10, how satisfied are you with our intimacy this week?" I thought he was joking again. Nope. Dead serious. I refused to fill it out and told him I wasn't doing homework for my relationship. He said, "This isn't homework. It's an accountability tool." That sparked a 2-day fight. When my friends got involved, Samantha and Marcus came over for dinner last weekend, and Ethan proudly showed them the relationship dashboard he made in Excel. It had color-coded bars for communication frequency, affection moments, and conflict resolution time. Samantha couldn't stop laughing, and Marcus was like, "Bro, you're wild for this." Ethan looked so proud, like they were impressed. I wanted to sink into the floor. After they left, I told him, "You embarrassed me. This isn't something to show off." He said, "Why not? Transparency leads to growth." The breaking point. This past Sunday, I tried again to skip the debrief. I was genuinely exhausted. My dad, Tom, 62, had been in the hospital for a minor procedure, and I just wasn't in the mood. Ethan literally followed me into the bedroom with his laptop and said, "We can't miss a week. That creates inconsistency in the data." I snapped. I told him, "Ethan, I don't want a manager. I want a boyfriend. If you can't stop treating me like an employee, I don't think I can do this anymore." He was stunned. He said he felt blindsided because in his mind, he was just putting in effort. I told him effort is flowers, spontaneous texts, asking about my day, not line graphs. We didn't talk much for 2 days after that. Where we stand now last night, he finally came to me and admitted he might have taken things too far. He said he's used to measuring everything in his job. He works in consulting, where literally every task is measurable, and that he thought applying the same logic to us would guarantee success. He swore his intention wasn't to make me miserable. I believe him. Ethan is not malicious. He really is a sweet, funny, loving guy in most ways. But I told him, "If you don't let go of this system, we're not going to last. I can't love you through a spreadsheet." He asked if I'd be open to trying couples counseling. Not because we're broken, but because he needs help separating work life from personal life. I agreed. Honestly, if he's willing to unlearn this behavior, I'm willing to give him a chance. Closing thoughts, so yeah, that's where things stand. I'm cautiously optimistic, but also guarding my heart. I don't want to be someone's project. Oh, and for everyone asking last time if he made PowerPoints, yes. Yes, he did. I found a slide deck titled Q1 Relationship Insights. It had bullet points like increase spontaneous affection by 15%. I wish I were kidding. Second update, my boyfriend, 33M, has decided to optimize our relationship, and I'm losing my mind. Hey Reddit, it's me again. Some of you asked for another update after my first one, and honestly, a lot has happened in the past few weeks. Buckle up, couples counseling begins. So yes, Ethan and I started couples counseling. Our therapist, Dr. Karen Mitchell, 48F, is honestly a saint. At our first session, she asked us to each describe what we hope to get out of therapy. I said, I want a relationship that feels like love, not a quarterly review. Ethan said, I want measurable progress, so I know our relationship is moving forward. Dr. Mitchell literally paused and said, Ethan, do you hear yourself? Relationships aren't measurable. They're felt. That set the tone. Ethan's homework. Of course, Ethan loved therapy because she gave us homework. The first assignment was to spend an evening together without phones, laptops, or any mention of metrics. We cooked dinner, played Scrabble, and watched When Harry Met Sally. For the first time in months, I felt like I was just hanging out with my boyfriend, not my project manager. But here's the kicker. 2 days later, I found him secretly jotting down notes about how unplugged quality time increased intimacy. He wasn't writing it for me. He was writing it for himself. I confronted him and he said, I can't just turn off the part of my brain that likes to track progress. That honestly scared me a little. Family weighs in. My mom, Lisa Miller, 58F, came over last weekend. She adores Ethan, but even she finally said, Honey, he's treating you like a business partner. That's not sustainable. Ethan overheard and got really defensive. He told my mom, With respect, Mrs. Miller, businesses thrive because they're structured. Why shouldn't relationships? My mom just gave me that girl run look. A weird breakthrough. Last night in therapy, Dr. Mitchell asked Ethan what he's afraid of if he stops tracking everything. He got really quiet, which is unusual for him. Then he admitted, My parents' marriage fell apart because they never worked on it. They ignored problems until it was too late. Tracking things makes me feel like I have control. Like I won't miss the signs. That hit me hard. I didn't know he carried that fear so deeply. Suddenly his obsession with metrics didn't feel so random. It felt like armor. Where I'm at now, here's the honest truth. I still love Ethan. He's not a bad guy. He's scared, and this is how he tries to protect himself. But at the same time, I can't let his fear dictate the vibe of our entire relationship. I told him last night, I understand why you want control, but love isn't about control. It's about trust. If you can't let go of the spreadsheet, you're going to lose me, he cried. Ethan doesn't cry often, but he did. He said he doesn't want to lose me. He promised to try, really try, to stop turning us into a project. Current status, so that's where we are. We're still together. Therapy continues. I'm cautiously hopeful, but I'm also keeping my eyes wide open. My friends say I'm too patient with him, and maybe they're right, but I feel like there's something worth saving here if he can truly learn to separate work from love. Also, for those of you who asked, yes, the infamous Q1 relationship, insights. PowerPoint still exists. I made him delete it off his laptop, but I took screenshots for the group chat because, come on, I had to. Final update. My boyfriend, 33M, tried to optimize our relationship, and I was losing my mind high. Reddit. This will be my last update, because things have reached a conclusion. It's been about 4 months since my last post, and I wanted to close the loop. Therapy, round 2. Ethan and I stuck with Dr. Mitchell for another couple of months. At first it felt like we were making progress. He agreed to stop tracking certain things like number of texts per day, and our Sunday debriefs got replaced with a more casual check-in over brunch. For a while, it felt lighter. We were laughing again. I thought, maybe this could work, but then he started slipping. I found a new spreadsheet on his computer titled Relationship Resilience Metrics. He wasn't sharing it with me anymore. He was just doing it in secret. That, honestly, hurt worse than when he was upfront about it. When I asked him about it, he said, I didn't want to stress you out, but I need this for my peace of mind. That's when it clicked. This wasn't about me. It was about him, needing control. A breaking point. The real breaking point came during my birthday dinner in early July. We were at this cozy Italian restaurant with some friends. Ethan had made a whole slideshow on his iPad, yes, in the middle of dinner, about 30 things I love about Hannah. Sweet, right? Except it wasn't just heartfelt reasons. It was formatted like a business presentation, complete with bullet points, graphs, and KPIs like improved household harmony by 23% since March. My friends thought it was hilarious, but I just wanted to crawl under the table. It felt like he didn't see me as a woman he loved, just a project he was managing. When we got home, I told him straight up, I can't do this anymore. I don't want to be a statistic in your spreadsheet. I want to be your partner, and if you can't give me that, we can't stay together. He didn't fight me. He just cried. The end 2 weeks later, I officially moved out of his apartment. I'm back at my parents' place for now while I figure out my next steps. Ethan and I talked one last time. He admitted that he's not ready to let go of the process. He said it makes him feel safe, and that maybe one day he'll find someone who loves that about him instead of resenting it. I told him I hope he does, but that I can't be that person. It wasn't explosive. No screaming, no betrayal. Just two people who wanted different things out of love. Reflections: I've learned a lot from this. Mostly that you can love someone deeply and still not be compatible. I wanted a partner who made me feel spontaneous and cherished. He wanted a system that guaranteed security. Those things just don't line up. Do I still love him? Yeah, in some way I do. But I also love myself, and I couldn't keep sacrificing my sanity for a relationship that felt more like a quarterly report than a romance. So I'm single again at 30. It's scary, but also freeing. And I know now that I'd rather be alone than feel like a line item in someone's spreadsheet. Stories number 3: AITA for asking my sister-in-law to return the necklace I gifted her, even though I promised her a replacement. I.F. Working abroad. Come from a large family, and I've always been the one to gift meaningful presents, usually gold jewelry like chains, rings, etc. I avoid electronics or trendy stuff. I prefer gifts that last and hold value. Recently, it was my sister-in-law's, let's call her Sam, turn. She's always been good to me and the family, so I chose a beautiful necklace for her, 18K gold, with a pearl and some diamonds. It was a thoughtful gift and not cheap. When I went home and gave it to her, I realized she had gained a lot of weight, and the necklace no longer fit like a necklace. It looked more like a choker. I brought it up gently and told her, since this doesn't fit you properly, I'll take it back and get you something that suits your neck size better. She agreed, and even said she'd return the necklace. I made it clear I'd bring her a new one next time I visit. Back abroad, I actually did start searching for a new necklace for her. My mom and even Sam encouraged me to find something more suitable. So I kept looking and finally purchased a bigger, more appropriate necklace, keeping my word. Then I found out that Sam never gave back the original necklace. She gave it to her daughter instead. That's when I felt uncomfortable. They never told me to stop looking for a replacement, and even pushed me to keep searching. Meanwhile, they kept the original necklace. I'd mentally decided to keep the first necklace for myself, and I felt it was unfair that I was now buying 2 expensive gifts. To be honest, I don't like wearing jewelry meant for someone else, so the new necklace is pretty much useless to me. I also told them that I wasn't comfortable buying 2 expensive necklaces when we had clearly agreed the original would be returned. Now there's tension, and I'm being made to feel like I'm the bad guy for asking for the first necklace back. But from my side, the original gift stopped being a gift when we both agreed it didn't fit her, and I fulfilled my promise to find a better one. So, AITA for saying I want the first necklace back? Clarification. Let me clarify a few points. For those who believe I was wrong to ask for the necklace back, I completely agree a gift is a gift. I never intended to take it back. My only wish was to give something meaningful and special. She genuinely loved the necklace, but unfortunately it wasn't comfortable for her. As she mentioned, she felt like chalking. Because of that, I recommended resizing it at a jewelry shop, but she refused because she was worried it might get damaged. I respected her decision. Eventually I told her, if you're not comfortable with it, I'll keep this one and buy you a new one that suits you better. I didn't take the necklace back immediately. In fact, I left it with her and told her to think about it, and let me know what she wants. I stayed in my hometown for 20 days, and it was only after 15 days that she came back to me and confirmed she wanted a replacement and would return the original one. We live in different cities, so I never had the chance to collect it. Now, for those saying I should have accepted that she gave it to someone else. Please understand, this necklace was bought for her, and she can do with it whatever she pleases. If she wanted to give to her daughter, it's fine. Had I known that from the beginning, I would never have gone out of my way to buy a second necklace just to make up for her. No one told me to stop looking for a replacement. No one said the plan had changed. For those who are asking if I can return it back, I actually bought the replacement necklace months ago, which means I can't return it anymore. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. ESH. You don't take back a gift. Once you give it, it becomes theirs. They can give it to someone else if they want unless you gave it with express strings attached. You are wrong, both legally and morally. Reply, but I had the conversation with her and she agreed that she wanted something more suitable, and even while looking for a replacement there was no mention that she wishes to keep the gift for her daughter. If she wanted to keep the first gift for her kid she would just say so, but I have to buy another gift? Commenter 2. NTH. You don't get to keep the original if you're making an exchange at a shop. Reply. This is what I thought at first. Commenter 2. Especially since you said I'll take it back, may I ask why you didn't just take it back, right when it didn't fit? What was the idea behind letting her hold on to it? I definitely still think Sam is in the wrong, but that might be where some confusion came from. Reply. When she tried in for the first time, she explained that she not comfortable because it was so tight that when we had the conversation that she might need to take to the jewelry shop for resizing, the following day she said she is not feeling comfortable taking there because they might ruin it. At that point I suggested to keep for me and buy a replacement, but I suggested to let her think for a couple of days before she give her answer. Later on we had the conversation again and she said that she want a replacement. Since she lives in different city, I requested my mom to collect it from her, and it was with her all the time. When the time come to return, I did not get the chance to visit them home, and this is what led us to this unfortunately. Commenter 3. Take the second necklace back and get your money back. Your Sil keeps the first gift, and if she wants to give it away, that's her choice, but you sure don't owe her a second gift. Reply. I think that what it should happen eventually, since I felt deceived, especially when I took her opinion before. I bought the replacement. If only they told me earlier. Update. AITA for asking my sister-in-law to return the necklace I gifted her, even though I promised her a replacement. I want to take a moment to thank everyone who liked, read, and shared their thoughts on my previous post. I genuinely appreciate the time you gave and the insightful advice many of you offered. Some comments made me reflect deeply, and even if we didn't all agree, I respect the different perspectives. Now to clarify one more thing, some people assumed I was using the value of the gift as leverage. I just want to say clearly, the gift and its value were entirely my own decision. Nobody asked me or pressured me to buy something expensive. Yes, there were expectations in the background, but nothing was ever said about how much I should spend or what kind of gift I should give. I find it super important to mention that is expensive gift since I cannot really afford buying this type of gift every single time, since I need so much saving and planning. I made the decision myself because I truly value her as a person. The way she treats me, my family, and especially my mother, made me feel grateful. I wanted to express that with something meaningful. There were no hidden intentions, no emotional strings attached. It was simply a gesture of appreciation. Now, for the update. As many of you wisely suggested, I approached the situation with calm and maturity. I didn't want this to become a lingering misunderstanding, so I initiated a phone call with my mom, my sister-in-law, and myself to try and resolve things clearly. During the call, I asked them directly, when did she decide that the first necklace would be handed over to my niece? And on what basis are you now expecting me to bring a second necklace as a replacement? Because, to be very honest, that was never the original agreement. My sister-in-law explained that after the replacement was confirmed, she and my brother decided to keep the first necklace. She also mentioned that they were planning to talk to me about the value of that necklace in order to pay me back when they can. On top of that, they were still expecting me to go ahead and bring the replacement necklace, meaning I'd be providing 2 necklaces, one as a gift, and one they would supposedly buy. Here's the issue. My brother owes me over $3,000 for more than 7 years now, and he's never paid me back, which it is a different story for another time. So I find it hard to believe he'd pay me for this necklace, especially considering its high value. Given everything, I'm 100% sure they won't be able to afford it. I know for a fact that my brother is not in a financial position to cover the cost. And when my sister-in-law said they planned to pay me when they can, it became even more clear there's no specific time frame or commitment. Given all of this, I respectfully declined to share the value of the necklace and expressed that I was uncomfortable with the direction the conversation had taken. I told them kindly but firmly that while I appreciate them, I think it's unreasonable to expect me to provide 2 necklaces, especially without even discussing it with me first. They had this entire conversation and made decisions among themselves, without informing me or asking if I was okay with it. So I said, "You can keep the original necklace and just consider it your gift, but I will not be getting another one." I also reminded her that I had given her more than enough time to decide what she wanted to do. She was the one who chose the replacement necklace, which is why, after I returned home, I kept in touch, talked to her regularly, and even shared pictures to help her select the exact piece she liked. Throughout that entire time, she never once mentioned any change of plan, or that they had decided to keep the original necklace for my niece. That's why I was completely caught off guard when I heard about this for the first time during our call. At that point, my sister-in-law said she still really wanted the replacement necklace, especially since she felt it was a better fit for her. Again, I explained that while I gave the first necklace freely, I can't fulfill this new expectation. I can't and won't give 2 necklaces. She then said she no longer wanted the first necklace and would be leaving it with my mom the next time, still expecting to receive the replacement necklace instead. So, for now, the situation is settled. But, as many of you pointed out, yes, I've realized that I'm being treated like the family ATM. And this experience has definitely made me reflect on the kind of gifts I choose to give in the future. As for the replacement necklace, I'm just waiting for my mom to confirm she received it. But I can't help it this time. The gift feels bitter. It doesn't feel like a genuine gesture of appreciation anymore. It feels like a trade. I feel used. And I feel hurt, because all I ever wanted was to say thank you sincerely, from the heart. And as one of you wisely pointed out, I now realize I was chasing perfection, trying so hard to please everyone that I lost sight of the original intention. Maybe I should have just left it up to her to decide what she wanted to do with the original necklace, instead of trying to fix it all. That's how it is. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I'm sorry things got this complicated for a gift. They emptied a nice gesture of the original meaning and showed their true colors, and put a price tag on a valuable lesson for you. That lesson is yours to keep. No exchanges. Good luck moving forward. Reply: thank you so much for the kind words. They really mean a lot to me. I've learned a lot from this incident, but I can't help still feeling hurt. Commenter 2. I would not get her a replacement necklace. She gave the necklace to her daughter, and now that she can't get one too, she's going to take her daughter's necklace away from her. That's cruel in itself. If you get anyone anything, it should be your niece. NTA reply: to be honest, at this point I'm super tired of overthinking everything, especially since this matter has already blown out of proportion. I do feel sorry for my niece, that's for sure, but I don't have a say in her mom's decision. I'm going to stop trying to make everything perfect. It's up to her mom now. Commenter 3. I don't know where you live or how much money you make, but 18K gold. Diamonds? Wow. Just wow. I'm floored by the entitlement your SIL feels, especially knowing that you would never see a dime if you gave her both. I think this is a good time to draw up a repayment schedule for your brother and the $3,000 he's owed you for 7 years. The family excuse doesn't hold water. The length of time is irrelevant. The disrespect to you is abhorrent. Please let us know if your mom ever receives the original necklace back. I have a gut feeling that she will never see it again. Nor will you. Reply: you know, after posting here, so many things became clearer and more evident. While I didn't have it in me to ask for anything before, I now realize I need to draw clear and firm boundaries and be more mindful. I've been working so hard, but my people-pleasing tendencies clouded my judgment about how to act in this situation. Requesting money from my brother will take another level of courage, and I hope I can find it in me. I feel like I'm slowly building my confidence, brick by brick. I will keep you posted if there is any update. Commenter 4. The next gift you give her can be that you took X amount of her husband's debt to you. Reply, I think I'm going to hold off on giving any gifts for now, to be honest, or at least until I get all these pending finances sorted out. Commenter 5. Do not take back the original necklace. It belongs to your niece. And do not give the replacement necklace. Ciel gave the gift to their daughter. It is no longer the property of SIL. To decide what happens to it, reply, yes, I still have the replacement necklace with no update from my mom yet, so I am just taking some time for myself to think things through. I do not really know what is going to happen at this point, but thanks stories number 4, I asked a woman out while I was working, and she said yes. All right, Reddit, buckle up, because this is the happiest I've felt in a long time, and I need to share it. I, 28M, work at a local outdoor gear shop in Oregon. It's one of those places where regulars come in for camping supplies, fishing gear, or just to talk about their next trip to the mountains. Usually my job is pretty routine. Help customers, stock shelves, small talk, go home. Nothing wild. Yesterday, though, something totally unexpected happened. Meeting her. So this woman, let's call her Emily Parker, 27F, came into the store around noon. I was restocking some climbing ropes when she walked in, and I swear the energy in the room shifted. She had this kind of bright, contagious presence. Not just because she's gorgeous, she is, but because she seemed genuinely excited to be alive. We ended up chatting at the register about hiking trails. She's new to town, just moved here for work. She laughed easily, asked me for recommendations, and it didn't feel like the usual customer service banter. There was an actual spark. Normally, I never flirt at work. I'm super cautious about boundaries. The last thing I want is to make someone feel uncomfortable when they're just trying to buy gear. But this felt different. The gift before she left, she mentioned she might come back tomorrow to drop off a little something as a thank you for helping her find the right backpack. I thought she was just being polite, but today, she actually came back. I was helping another customer when she walked in, holding this little bag. She set it on the counter with a smile and said, "This is for you, since you gave me such solid hiking advice yesterday." It was a coffee gift card and a granola bar. Hiker humor, I guess. Super simple, but thoughtful. She didn't linger, just gave me the bag and turned to leave. The moment. Here's where my brain went into full panic mode. My instincts were screaming, "Ask her number now, you idiot! Don't let this pass you by." So I wrapped up with the other customer, called out to her before she hit the door, and thanked her again for the gift. She stopped, smiled, and walked back over. We ended up talking for a few more minutes. There were a couple of awkward silences. Eatery, not bad, just the kind where you know both people are thinking about what they want to say next. Honestly, it felt like she was waiting for me to do something, so I just went for it. I said, "Hey, I'd love to grab coffee with you sometime if you're up for it." She didn't even hesitate. Her face lit up and she immediately said, "Yes," with this huge, warm smile. I gave her my number, told her no pressure, and she tucked it in her pocket like it was the most natural thing in the world. The aftermath. The second she walked out, I swear my coworkers looked at me like I had just won the lottery. One of them, Jake Thompson, 29mm, fist bumped me from across the counter. Another, Rachel Hayes, 25F, teased me about blushing like a teenager. They've seen me be pretty reserved and keep to myself, so they were hyped to see me take a chance, and honestly, I've been on cloud 9 all day. It's been a long time since I've felt this kind of joy. I've had a rough couple of years, long breakup, family stuff, work stress, and I'd kind of convinced myself that love or even genuine connection just wasn't in the cards for me right now. But today reminded me that sometimes the best things happen when you take a little risk. Reflection. I don't know what's going to come of this. Maybe it's one coffee and nothing more. Maybe it's something bigger. But for the first time in forever, I'm not stressing about the outcome, I'm just excited. And that's enough. Update. I asked a woman out while I was working and she said yes. Hey Reddit, it's Mike again. A bunch of you wanted me to update after the coffee date, so here it is. Honestly, I'm still kind of buzzing. The lead up, so Emily and I texted a little after I gave her my number. Nothing heavy, just casual, hey, hope your day's going well kind of stuff. She actually asked me if I had a favorite coffee spot in town, which I took as a great sign because it wasn't just me doing all the initiating. We ended up settling on a small local cafe downtown. It's this cozy spot with string lights and way too many plants hanging from the ceiling. I got there early because I'm neurotic about being late, and I swear I almost psyched myself out waiting. Then she walked in. Same big smile, same energy. It felt like the store all over again. Everything around me just got lighter. The coffee date at first, I thought we'd be there maybe an hour. We ended up talking for almost 3. We covered so much. She grew up in Colorado, moved to Oregon for a job at a marketing agency, and she's huge into hiking, which explains why she was in my shop in the first place. She asked a lot about me too. Not in a polite way, but like she actually wanted to know. That's rare for me. We talked about favorite trails, worst camping fails. She once left her sleeping bag on top of her car and drove off. Books, music, and even family stuff. There were no weird lulls. It just flowed. At one point I told her about how I usually don't ask women out at work because it feels unprofessional, and she laughed and said, "Well, I'm glad you made an exception." I might have melted right there. The walk. After when we finally left the cafe, it was getting dark, but neither of us was ready to call it a night. We walked around downtown for a while, just talking and people watching. She kept bumping my shoulder, playfully, and I was trying to read the vibe without rushing things. At one crosswalk, she looked up at me and said, "This has been really fun." That felt like the green light. I didn't go for a kiss right then, figured it was better to let things build, but I told her I felt the same and that I'd love to see her again. She said, "Definitely." Aftermath. When I got home, Jake, my coworker, texted me, "So, coffee girl?" I told him it went great, and he just sent a string of fist bump emojis. Rachel chimed in too, teasing me about finally having game. But the best part? Emily texted me not long after saying, "Thanks again for tonight. Let's plan a hike soon." So yeah, it's still early, but this feels different. And honestly, after a couple of rough years, just having something this good to look forward to feels incredible. That's where we're at. We're planning that hike for next weekend. I'll keep this updated if people want to know how that goes. One update, I asked a woman out while I was working and she said yes. Hey Reddit, Mike back again. Last time I updated, Emily and I had gone on our first coffee date, and it went better than I ever could have imagined. A lot of people asked me to come back if things kept going, so here we are. Spoiler, the hike happened, and it was pretty awesome. Planning the hike, we decided on Forest Park, which is close to the city but still feels like you've been dropped into the middle of nowhere. Emily suggested it because she knew a trail that wasn't too intense but still had a great lookout point. I liked that she took the lead. I'm usually the planner in most situations, so it was nice to just go along for once. I was nervous, not going to lie. Coffee dates are safe. If things get weird, you just finish your drink and leave. A hike, though? You're kind of committed for a few hours, but I figured the fact she suggested it meant she was just as into this as I was. The actual hike, we met at the trailhead around 10 a.m. She showed up in leggings, a hoodie, and a baseball cap, looking ridiculously cute. I had my old hiking boots on, which she immediately roasted me for. Did you dig those out of a Civil War museum? Ice broken instantly. Once we got moving, it just felt natural again. We talked, joked, pointed out weird-shaped trees. At one point, I slipped on some wet leaves and almost went down, and she caught my arm and laughed so hard she had to stop walking. I felt like an idiot, but in a good way. When we reached the lookout, it was even better than she described. You could see the whole city with the mountains in the distance. We sat there for a while, sharing snacks we brought. I found out she's obsessed with sour gummy worms, which somehow makes me like her even more. The moment okay, so here's where it got kind of big. While we were sitting there, she told me she hadn't been on a date in a while, and that she almost didn't give me her number because she thought it might be weird since I met her at work. She said, "But I'm really glad I did." That felt like my opening. So yeah, I kissed her. Nothing over the top, just a quick, sweet kiss. She smiled and said, "Finally," which made me laugh because apparently she'd been waiting for me to make a move. After the hike on the drive back, she played DJ and introduced me to some indie bands she loves. When we got back to our cars, neither of us wanted to just split, so we ended up grabbing tacos from a food truck nearby. It felt easy, like we'd been doing this forever. Later that night, I got a text from her. "Had so much fun today. You're kind of great, Mike." I don't think I've stopped smiling since. Where we stand now. We've already made plans to see a movie this weekend, and she mentioned introducing me to a couple of her friends soon. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but this feels like it's building into something real. Final update. I asked a woman out while I was working and she said, "Yes. Hey Reddit, it's Mike again." I promised I'd update once things developed further with Emily, and honestly, this has been one of the best experiences of my life. 2 months in, so it's been about 2 months since the coffee date and the hike. We've been seeing each other consistently, usually a few times a week. Coffee, hikes, dinners, occasional board game nights at my place. Emily Parker 27F, is as amazing as she seemed from the start. Funny, kind, adventurous. She's smart, genuinely curious about the world, and just has this energy that makes being around her easy. Meeting friends and family. About a month ago, she introduced me to a couple of her close friends, including her best friend, Hannah Collins, 27F. They were super welcoming and even teased Emily about how she met me at my store. "Classic small-town meet cute," Hannah said. Then last weekend, Emily came to meet my parents, Tom and Lisa Miller, and I was nervous as hell. But it went amazingly. My parents loved her. They thought she was funny, respectful, and clearly happy with me. Emily and my dad immediately bonded over hiking stories, and my mom loved that she shares my enthusiasm for trying new restaurants. Relationship dynamics. What I'm loving most is that everything feels natural. We still talk about plans for hikes, trips, or weekend activities, but there's none of the awkwardness of the first date jitters anymore. I can be myself, she can be herself, and we genuinely enjoy each other's company. Emily and I have also started talking about the future. Nothing super intense, but things like trips we want to take, long-term hobbies, and even the idea of living together eventually. It feels comfortable, like we're on the same page without forcing it. Small joys. Some small things have made me realize this is different than past experiences. She remembers tiny details I mention, favorite coffee orders, small quirks about my family, jokes I make. We support each other's personal growth. She encourages me to pursue new projects at work, and I cheer her on in her career. Simple moments feel special, like walking around the city on a Sunday evening, just talking and laughing. It's hard to describe, but I've genuinely felt happier these past 2 months than I have in years. I feel seen, appreciated, and excited for what's next. Lessons learned. Taking a risk is worth it. Asking her out could have been awkward, but it led to something real. Chemistry and connection are rare. When you feel it, trust your instincts. Relationships should feel easy sometimes. You don't need to force magic. It's already there. If it clicks, TLDRI 28M, asked a woman, Emily 27F, out while working at my store. She said yes. We had coffee, went on a hike, and have been dating for 2 months. Things feel natural, fun, and exciting. She met my family, I met hers, and the relationship is going really well. Taking the risk to ask her out was totally worth it. Stories. Number 5. My estranged kids reached out about college, and I told them tough luck posting here because my roommate won't shut up about Reddit, and reminded me I still had this old account. Last time I posted, different issue, I didn't get much useful advice, but maybe this one will click with people. Honestly, I don't know where else to spill this, so here goes. I, 38M, let's call me Jason, was married to my ex-wife Rebecca, 45F, For 17 years. We split a little over a year ago when I found out she'd been cheating on me. Not a one-time mistake, not some drunken slip-up. She had been carrying on a full-on affair for years. The details don't even matter anymore. What matters is it ended our marriage, blew up our family, and left me stuck digging out of a mess that feels like it will take the rest of my life to recover from. Oh, and of course, I still have 3 kids with her. The betrayal, the hardest part, wasn't even Rebecca. It was my daughter, Madison. She was 16 when I discovered the affair. When I confronted Rebecca with the evidence, Madison actually stepped in and defended her mom. She swore up and down that what I saw wasn't real. She told me I was paranoid. She made me feel like I was losing my mind, like I was inventing problems where there weren't any. Turns out she was just covering for her mom, trying to protect her, I guess. But by the time the truth came out, I looked like a complete fool. My therapist later called it gaslighting, but I can't stay too angry. She was a kid caught in the middle. Still, that cut deep in a way. I didn't expect my sons, Ethan, now 18, and Logan, now 14, didn't say much of anything. They just kind of froze me out. Once the divorce started, I basically stopped hearing from them altogether. The fallout Rebecca had been hiding debts, knew nothing about. Credit cards, payday loans, money borrowed from her parents. Stuff she swore was under control. When everything blew up, I had to sell off just about everything we'd built together to cover her mess. Our house, my car, savings, gone. My credit tanked so hard I can't even finance a couch from Walmart. Then the burger chain I'd been managing for the past decade shut down. Not just my store, the whole region. So now I'm in this crappy little town 2 hours away, working. Another location because it was the only option. I don't know anyone here. I don't have friends here. My roommates are 2 20-somethings who party all night, vape in the apartment and eat my food. It's miserable. I've spent the last year just surviving. Waking up, going to work, dragging myself home, repeat, radio silence. Since the divorce, I haven't heard much of anything from my kids. No calls, no texts. Birthdays went by without so much as a card. I'd send messages and get left unread. It hurt, but I told myself they were teenagers, living with their mom, and she was probably feeding them a version of events where I'm the bad guy, so I let it go. I figured maybe when they got older, they'd see things more clearly. Now, out of nowhere, about a month ago, I get a text from Ethan, out of the blue. First time I'd heard from him in over a year. It said, "Hey Dad, can we talk about college stuff? I need help." Not, "How are you?" Not, "Sorry for ghosting you for a year." Not even, "I miss you." Straight to business. A day later, Madison messaged too. Same tone. "College apps are coming up. Do you think you can help out financially?" No warmth. No attempt at repairing the relationship. Just money talk. My response. I told them flat out, "Tough luck. I don't have the money. I can't be their safety net anymore. I'm still drowning from the debts their mom left me holding. My credit is shot, my job barely covers rent and groceries. There is no college fund, no savings, no rainy day account." I didn't go into detail, because I didn't want to badmouth their mom. They live with her, and I know what it's like to grow up in a toxic house. If I start pointing fingers, they'll just retreat further into her corner. But inside, I was boiling. They ignored me for a year. They made me out to be the bad guy. And now that they want something, now I'm worth contacting, so I said no. The guilt, I won't lie. I feel guilty as hell. Therapy has helped me admit that I still want a relationship with my kids. But sometimes I wonder if I want a relationship with the idea of who I thought they'd become, not who they actually are. I catch myself fantasizing about future Thanksgivings, or weddings, or them showing up one day saying, "Dad, we get it. Now we're sorry." But maybe that version of them doesn't exist. Maybe it never will, and part of me feels like a monster for saying no when I know college is important. But another part of me thinks, why should I bankrupt myself again for kids who don't even want me in their lives unless it's convenient? The question, so yeah, that's where I'm at. My kids reached out for the first time in over a year just to ask for money, and I told them tough luck. Do I feel like an asshole? Absolutely. Do I feel used? Even more. I guess my question is, am I closing the door forever by doing this? Or was the door already closed and I'm just finally admitting it? Update. My estranged kids reached out about college, and I told them tough luck. Hey Reddit, it's Jason again. Didn't expect my original post to blow up the way it did. I posted half out of frustration, half out of wanting advice, and I ended up reading every single comment, even the ones calling me a deadbeat loser, lol. Some of you were harsh, some of you were compassionate, but weirdly, it all helped me process things. A lot has happened since then, so here's the update. The immediate fallout. When I told Ethan and Madison I couldn't help with college, they both basically ghosted me again. I figured that was that, and I honestly braced myself for another year of silence. But a week later, Rebecca called me. First time she's called me directly since the divorce. She didn't even bother with pleasantries. She jumped straight into, "You need to step up and help with your kids' futures. Stop punishing them because you hate me." I almost laughed out loud. This is the same woman who drained our accounts, hid debt, and blew up our family. Now suddenly, it's my responsibility to come up with tens of thousands of dollars? I told her flat out, "Rebecca, you're the one who torched our finances. You can't demand money from a well that's dry." She started screaming about how a real man provides no matter what. I hung up. The kids reach out. Again, a couple weeks later, Ethan texted again. But this time, it wasn't just about money. He said, "Dad, I know things are messed up, but I need to understand why you're so mad at me and Maddie. I thought you didn't want us in your life." That broke me a little, because in their eyes, my silence was me rejecting them. From my side, their silence was them rejecting me. Classic divorce poison. So I asked if they'd be willing to do a video call with me and my therapist, Dr. Miller, kind of like a neutral space. To my surprise, Ethan agreed. Madison was hesitant, but came on the call too. The hard conversation, it was awkward as hell at first. They looked like strangers on the screen. Madison wouldn't even make eye contact. Dr. Miller helped guide the conversation. And here's what came out. They thought I cut them off when I moved out. Rebecca told them I didn't want them around because they chose her. They didn't understand the financial mess I was left with. Rebecca made it sound like I kept all the assets and refused to share. Madison admitted she defended her mom because she thought if I knew the truth I'd leave, and she didn't want the family to break apart. That last one gutted me. She wasn't trying to hurt me. She was a kid desperately trying to keep her world intact. I told them the truth. Not the bitter version, just the facts. About the debts, the house, my credit. I explained I literally cannot co-sign loans or pay tuition because I don't even qualify for financing myself. For the first time, I saw their faces shift from defensive to understanding. Where we stand now. Ethan has since started looking into community college and federal aid. I offered to help him with applications, essays, and FAFSA paperwork. I can't give money, but I can give time, guidance, and support. He seemed grateful for that. Madison is still distant, but at least she texted me on my birthday last week. Just a simple, "Happy birthday, Dad." That's the first message from her in almost 2 years that wasn't about money. It meant more than I can explain. Logan, my youngest, hasn't reached out yet. Rebecca still controls most of what he hears, so I'm not holding my breath. But I'm trying to keep the door open, my takeaway therapy, and honestly, some Reddit comments helped me realize this isn't black and white. Yes, my kids hurt me by freezing me out, but they were kids being fed a narrative by their mom. They didn't have the tools to sort out truth from manipulation. And me? I'm not a bottomless bank account. I'm allowed to say no. But I also don't want to die on that hill of bitterness and end up estranged forever. So here's my plan. I won't co-sign or pay for college. I literally can't. I will help them navigate applications, scholarships, aid, and part-time job options. I'll keep therapy sessions open for them if they're willing. I'll stay consistent. Even if they push me away, I'll keep showing up, texts, calls, invites, without expecting instant forgiveness. It's not perfect. It's messy. But for the first time in years, it feels like there's a crack in the wall instead of a solid brick barrier closing. Thoughts? I don't know if I'll ever have the family holidays I once dreamed of. but I'm learning to adjust my expectations. If all I get is a phone call here and there, that's still better than silence. I'm not a perfect dad, but I'm still their dad. And I want to try, even if it takes the rest of my life. Edit. 2. The people who messaged me after my first post saying, "You're just bitter and punishing your kids. I hope this shows I'm trying to be better." I'm not closing the door. I just can't bankroll their future the way I once hoped. Final update. Months later. My estranged kids and the college situation. Hey Reddit, it's Jason again. Didn't think I'd be posting here a third time, but a lot of you asked for closure, and honestly, I want to put a bow on this whole saga before I move on with my life. It's been about 8 months since my last update. A lot has changed. Ethan, now 19, he actually followed through on community college. We spent hours on calls together working on FAFSA, scholarship apps, and just getting him ready. I couldn't give him money, but I gave him time, and apparently, that counted for more than I realized. He's taking classes in business administration, working part-time at a local grocery store, and texts me a couple times a week. We even met up in person twice. Once for lunch, once for a baseball game. It was awkward at first, but the second time felt almost normal. He even told me, "Dad, I know you didn't abandon us. I see it now." I won't lie, I cried after that. Madison, now 18, this one's tougher. She's still very close with her mom, and while she doesn't outright blame me anymore, she keeps her guard up. She ended up getting into a 4-year university with some aid and scholarships, but she's already complained about money being tight. She called me once in September, asking again if I'd help out financially. I reminded her gently that I just can't. I offered to help her budget and apply for work-study programs. She said thanks but hasn't followed up. We did exchange Christmas gifts, though. She mailed me a mug that said, "World's okayest dad." I don't know if it was sarcasm or her version of humor, but I'll take it. Logan, now 15. Still radio silence. From what Ethan hinted at, Rebecca has really dug in with him and paints me as the villain. That hurts the most, but I've decided to play the long game. I still send birthday and holiday cards with little notes, even if I never get a response. Someday, maybe he'll see them and realize I never stopped trying. Rebecca, 45F, my ex. Honestly, I try to have as little contact as possible. She sent a few nasty texts after Ethan chose to stay with me for a week over summer break. Stuff like, "You're bribing him," and "You're trying to turn him against me." I didn't take the bait. Silence is my best weapon these days. As far as I know, her relationship with the affair partner fizzled. Not my problem. This whole process has forced me to grow up in ways I didn't expect at 38. I spent so much time bitter, blaming, angry, but I realized I don't want my legacy with my kids to be a story of resentment. I picked up a better job managing a diner, not glamorous but steady, repaired some of my credit, and even started dating again. Slowly, carefully. My therapist says I'm finally building a life that isn't just about reacting to Rebecca. The big lesson. When I first posted, I thought I was asking, am I an asshole for not paying for my kids' college? Now I realize the real question was, how do I rebuild a relationship with my kids when the foundation has been shattered? And the answer isn't money. It's showing up, consistently, patiently, without strings attached. I can't fix the past, but I can be here now. And for the first time since the divorce, I think my kids are starting to believe that. DR final update. Ethan is in community college, we're rebuilding, and it's going well. Madison keeps her distance, but there are small signs of thawing. Logan is still estranged, but I'm keeping the door open. My ex is still my ex, and that's a blessing. I've accepted I'll never be the dad I once imagined, but I can still be a present one. Stories number 6. AITA for not removing multiple scary posters from my room that my nephew is sleeping in. Okay, so I, M16, got told today that my brother, M29, would be staying in my room overnight tomorrow with my nephew, M6. I'm already pissed at this because, well, it's my fucking room. My mom is part of the older generation, so according to her, it's perfectly normal to give up your bed for a guest. One thing about my room is that the walls are smothered in posters, like no gaps between Jenga of different posters, banners, and postcards. I have a wall of 2,000 postcard of Studio Ghibli, 7 full-size posters, 5 half-size, 40 A5 pictures of Hozier, and lots more general memorabilia from bands and shows. I have 3 posters stapled to my ceiling, one of which is Ryuk, from Death Note. Look him up. He's creepy as he is a demon, I will admit, and my brother asked, "Oh, can you just take it down for the night?" I say, "No, sorry, it's stapled and I don't want to damage it and put it back up," and he is not pleased, having a go at me and saying you would have been scared at his age too. I don't see how that's my problem. I don't want them in my room. At all, I'm not ripping down a permanent poster for people I don't want in my room. But it gets worse. I mentioned the 40 A5 pictures of Hozier before. He wanted me to take them down. He said, "It looks like a shrine. Cult-like. It's gonna scare him, take it down." At PM not listening to a word he says. But like, am I in the wrong for this? I don't feel like I am, but my mum is calling me unreasonable. Some of comments, commenter. 1. Tack a sheet up over it. Reply, I have thought about that, but as it's on my ceiling and is an old house, not thing really stays in the crumbling plaster apart. From Staples. And I don't really want to staple a sheet onto my ceiling. Commenter 2, NTA, they are being completely unreasonable. It's not going to disturb your nephew to see pictures of a singer on a teenager's wall. Posters and photos of singers are completely normal. For Ryuk on the ceiling, what about a compromise? Put post-it notes over his face so that the kid can't see it, but you don't have to damage your poster. Reply. That's actually a genius idea. Wodzero. You'll see if I have some. Commenter 3. Pin a sheet over them. It is, in fact, perfectly normal to give up your bed for a guest. Reply. IDK if it's just because it's my brother and he tormented me the whole time he lived here by barging into my room. But giving up my room to him feels 5x as invasive than KF I gave it up to an aunt or uncle. To another commenter, I responded to someone else saying this, but the fact he's my significantly older brother who literally tormented me the whole time he lived here, when I was born till he was 23. Doing things like barging into my room, stealing my things, beating me up, which I will admit is all just brotherly things. The difference is he was 20 and I was 7. Big age gap. It just irritates me that he gets to sleep in my bed, and then feels entitled enough to tell me, "Take my posters down, YK?" I would probably be more welcoming to an aunt or uncle than my brother. Commenter 4, NTA. But I'd be worried about your brother ripping them down himself. Maybe get a couple of pads of post-its and go nuts. Temporarily cover up whatever he finds so offensive, just to keep him from damaging your stuff. Reply. Honestly, the best advice I've got from a few people. Probably gonna do this. Commenter 5, ETA. Do you pay rent? If not, your parents can dictate where you sleep and who sleeps where. Guessing your parents' money also paid for said posters. Cover them up. They are being unreasonable for asking you to take them down and risking you ripping them. You're also acting like an entitled teen as well. Reply, I don't pay rent because I am as stated 16, but will do when I turn 18. I have a job and have had a lot of money from inheritance in the past, so I've paid for literally everything on my walls. Commenter 6. Actually, Ryuk is a god of death, not a demon. Shinigami, not Oni. Reply, I was just putting it in simple terms. I wasn't about to explain the lore of Death Note in an AITA post. Commenter 7. This OMG, please staple the bedsheet to the ceiling or something. Somewhere it won't wreck your stuff. One of Mum's favorite bed sheets. And use a ton of staples, just in case. Sorry, OP, life gets better after you move out one day, I promise. They can shove it with the shrine BS too, like their house probably isn't stacked with creepy Elmos or Paw Patrol garbage. Reply, yeah, every corner I turn there's an owl. Commenter 8. NTA, just cover them. But also, 40 A5 pictures of Hozier is fucking creasing me right now. That's so funny. Are they all the same photo? Reply, yeah, it's the handsome Squidward one. Commenter 9. You're fucking weird and I'm here for it. Update. My nephew saw the poster and didn't give a fuck. We picked him and my brother up, came back to my house, Well, my mum's house, as may of you, seemed to care so much about property ownership, and I was given the job of entertaining him for the rest of the day. Eventually the park gets boring, toys get boring, games get boring, so he asks to watch YouTube in my room. My brother instantly goes, "No, there are scary pictures you won't like." This immediately piqued his interest and went straight to my room, staring straight at the ceiling. He's just like, "Oh, that's cool." Turns out he literally plays COD Zombies all day and has unlimited internet access at 6. My brother was literally just trying to get under my skin and irritate me. Thanks to everyone for all the advice though. But I do think some people either disregarded I or just didn't care that the poster is on my ceiling. I'm 5'2". So it took me an hour, a pile of cushions, and a lot of rage quitting to put them up in the first place. But none of that matters anymore. Stories number 7. AITA for correcting my mill at a family gathering that she didn't recommend my daughter's name. It was my favorite name. I've been married to my husband for almost 2 years and our daughter is 11 months old. When we found out we were having a girl, one of the names that was immediately top contender was the name of a character I really like in a very popular book show movie franchise. My husband is a huge fan of the franchise, too, and with time that name just became the only one that I wanted, and we landed on it, and then told our parents about it. I remember my MIL questioning whether phonetically there would be an alternative spelling that could cause confusion, and I had said no it wouldn't, and had explained to her the subtle difference in pronunciation, and it was a whole conversation I'd had with her. Last weekend we were at my in-laws' place for a dinner. My Bill and Esil were there too, so we were watching my daughter cruising along the room, using the couches as support, and looking at us to see if we were looking and then laughing. My BIL's wife had remarked how radiant she looked, and how she'd really taken to her name literally. My SEL then said that it was a really good choice. By my MEL, I was confused. I asked what she's talking about, and my SEL said that my MEL had been the one to recommend the name. Right? My MEL then said yeah, that she'd said it's a good name. I was literally stunned for a second and then made it clear that I'd come up with the name, how I'd known of it, and that my husband also knew of that character, and that we were dead set on the name. There were no recommendations to be had. I asked my husband to corroborate the story, which he did, uncomfortably. My Emil said names are a collective family effort, and everyone pitched in, but I still said this name was one that was very dear to me, and it was one I'd come up with. Maybe I shouldn't have pushed on that a second time? That's why I'm here. When we came home and were in bed, my husband had been getting texts from his mom and sister. He said I was right in my account of what had happened, but he also told me I'd been tactless. That we know it was my name, and our daughter has a beautiful name that suits her. Why make it into something that causes bitterness? And today he had a phone call with his mom, just a regular one. I asked if she was still pissed. He said she was. He said that he understood why I did it, but it wasn't the time and place. Was ITA update. My husband came by this on his Reddit feed FML. He wants to let us all know he never said I was an AH, top comments, comment 1. He said that he understood why I did it, but it wasn't the time and place. Did he happen to share with you when would have been a better time to correct your mother-in-law's revisionist history, and why he didn't have a word with her and correct her himself? Big fat NTA reply, no he didn't say it, but he said it shouldn't have been clarified in front of an audience. So I'm assuming he meant when it was just me with my L. And if she'd said this when we've had moments where it's just the two of us, I would have corrected her then. I didn't enjoy saying it in front of others, it's just that's when it was brought up. Comment 2, she's pissed that she got called out on a stupid lie? Easy solution to that is she shouldn't have lied. NTA reply, thank you. And while I didn't bring it up at the time, because I didn't recall in the moment, I literally have texts of me sending her a link about how that name is in the top 20. That it's not a totally out there name. Comment 3, mild YTA. Count yourself lucky that MIL isn't like many on here who hates her grandchild's name, and there's a lot of negativity surrounding that. So what if she is taking a little ownership of the name at this late date? It just shows that she loves everything about your daughter. You and your husband know the true genesis of the name, and that's all that really matters. Reply, That's my husband's POV, essentially, that it was out of love, and now there's bitterness, which I suppose there is, and if it really was an thing to do, I'm open to apologizing for doing it with others around. Comment 4. Does your husband ever stand up to his mother? Call her out when she lies, or if she does something unreasonable, trying to determine if this is a one-off event, or if you have more than one problem on your hands. Reply: before we got married, he'd said she can be a bit much, and just to sort of not mind her too much, which is why we've been okay thus far. But, this was close to my heart, and in the moment I felt I had to claim it. Comment 5. I left you a longer reply elsewhere in the thread, but just consider that her own memory of things may have morphed. Memories are super weird. She might not be lying per se, she might just honestly believe what she's saying. As a person with a mail, ask me how I know LOL. Does it accomplish anything to remind her of the old text messages? What does that accomplish? Will it solve or avoid any future issues? Will it just make you look petty? We here in Reddit don't know you or your MIL, so only you can answer these questions based on your history and personalities. Ultimately, what is the goal of trying to win this argument? What do you lose by letting it go? Marriage is a long road. Navigate it wisely. Pick your battles. Reply: you're right, I won't push this further. I think I set the record straight on this enough. There's no point in dragging it. Update: hi, and thanks a lot for all the comments and verdicts in my first post, far more than I had anticipated, enough that my husband came across it too. First, I do want to clarify that my husband never said I was an AH. He said he agreed with the facts, that our daughter's name had nothing to do with MIL, just the timing of it. But like a lot of the comments had said, perhaps setting the record clear in the moment had been the right thing to do. My MIL had been bringing up the encounter to him in passing repeatedly since then, and she was also emphasizing the way and place and time that I corrected her. She was not claiming to have recommended the name any longer. Yesterday, because my husband was having to deal with the bitterness of the situation, I had a call with my MIL. She said she was in shock at the way I had gone about it, that it's not what she'd expected of me, how fond she was of my daughter, and that decisions like these are family decisions in spirit. Doesn't matter the origin of the thought. I said I understand and deeply regretted the unpleasantness, but it was a name close to my heart since I was young, and had read the books, so that's why this was different to me than any other decision, like the choice of stroller, for instance. My FMIL brought up that I had sent her a link of how it was a very popular name back when I had told her about it the first time. I said that, yes, but I'd done that after the fact, just to show it wasn't a completely out there name, and that I didn't even know what the result of the popularity of the name would be when I'd searched for it. But this name was from my heart. She said she understands, and again reiterated how much she loves our daughter, and I thanked her and told her how much I appreciated it. I think I've handled the situation well. My husband, too, seems content after my call. A sincere thank you, everyone who took the time out for my issue. Comment 1. But didn't you have to convince her of the name? To then go on and say she recommended it isn't just making a decision as a family, even in spirit. That's just a straight-up fabrication. She can go around telling people she approved the name if she wants. But even that would rankle me, because decisions like a child's names are not family decisions in spirit to begin with. They're the parents' decisions. I'm glad you're okay with how things panned out, and I hope this is a one-off. But I'd be on the watch for my in-law, A, in case of further revisionism streaks, and B, in case she decides other decisions that should be mine and my partner's suddenly become family decisions, in spirit or otherwise. Do not let her wiggle her way into having veto power over your decisions as a couple, or as parents. Reply: yep, I've made it clear to my husband that when it comes to our daughter, only me and him make decisions. Comment 2. Fact-checking a pushy MIL in real time for the win. She is a right lively one, isn't she? BTWOP. Did anyone in Mill's family help name your SO or your SIL? Reply: I never asked that. I can ask my husband. Edit. My husband can't remember, but he says his grandmother, my Mill's mom, makes an appearance in the story about his name. He has no clue about the story of his sister or brother's name. Comment 3. Your MIL is an for trying to take credit, then gaslighting you into an apology, and making you think naming a child is a group effort in spirit when there was, in reality, no group. Your husband is an AH for saying you were in the wrong for putting his mother in her place for lying, then not telling his mother to touch grass when she bitched about it. You are an AH to yourself for accepting this and apologizing. You are an AH to your daughter if you allow her to be raised thinking this shit is healthy or acceptable. Reply, I didn't apologize. I just acknowledged that it was sad the way things went down. Comment 4. And that decisions like these are family decisions in spirit. Doesn't matter the origin of the thought. What does this mean? Reply, she was just like, in a family when decisions are made we all own it. Regardless of who originally came up with it, she was like making claims are not the sign of a loving family. And again, that's all well and good for some things, sure, but some stuff is just deeply personal. Stories number 8 AITA for bringing up my parents' favoritism of my brother, after they said they needed my help and I refused. I, 17, have one older brother, Sam, 19 Mir, and he was always our parents' favorite. I'm not the only person who knows or acknowledges this either. Sam does, so do both maternal and paternal grandparents, my maternal aunt, and all our cousins. For our cousins it was a running gag that if my parents were ever broke, they'd sell me to keep spoiling Sam. A lot of what I'll mention involves money, and I wanted to give everyone a heads up now. But it won't be all I talk about. And this won't be able to cover every time because there's 17 years of proof, lol. So when I say my parents favor Sam, and that's just the way it is, I mean it's obvious in so many ways. They're more considerate with buying him birthday and Christmas gifts. They know what he wants, and they make sure to get him the biggest item every time. And then they make sure extended family and friends know what else he wants. They have asked grandparents to get him extra video games when our parents bought him a console, or they'll ask them to complete the set of team jerseys they know my brother wants. I know this because it was argued about in front of me once or twice, but when it comes to gifts for my birthday and Christmas, I get pretty generic stuff. Sometimes I get something trending, but I always get clothes, shoes, and hygiene sets. Even when I have a list of stuff I'd like, it still happens and I don't think I ever got something I actually wanted from my parents. It was always others who got me wish-listed items. I remember being like 7 or 8, and I really wanted this Pokemon set and I had asked for it for my birthday and Christmas, and got it neither time. Then my grandparents realized I wanted it, and got it for me after, and my parents confiscated it, and told them to keep it until my next birthday. That same year, Sam got his own custom-built PC from our parents. Other times when we're out and he wants something, they have no issue buying it for him. But it doesn't typically happen for me. The exception was when I saw shirts I wanted. My parents got those for me because they said I needed new clothes anyway. Stuff like that has happened a few times by now. Sam was always in football. My parents signed him up when he was 4 because he loved watching it and playing it with Dad. They spent so much money and even signed him up in different places when he didn't like somewhere. But I didn't have an extracurricular until I was 11. When I was in elementary school, my class was taken to play hockey, and I loved it. And I asked my parents if I could play, and they said no. Even when they were told I was good and they should consider it, they were unwilling to consider it. It was only when my maternal grandparents offered to pay for it that they said yes, and then they took it over after a year, and said it was because I stayed on the team and didn't quit, because they wouldn't waste the money. Yet they never minded Sam quitting teams frequently, and they even drive 2 hours away to get him to football practice because he didn't like the 2 local teams. Something else that has always bothered me is they make a point of saying we always need to support each other and show up for family. We go to all Sam's games, and we even showed up to cheer him on at pre-game practices, and any time they had a special event on at practices. I always had to be there. But it wasn't as strictly followed with me, and sometimes they would lose all enthusiasm for supporting me. Like one time a couple of years ago, they asked him about a game, and he told them he didn't have one. They were like, okay, then I guess we have no plans, and I told them I had a game. They were like, oh, sorry, we didn't realize. And then Sam jumped in and said he wouldn't be there because he had plans with friends. They said it was fine, and I didn't need everyone there, but I was never allowed to say that. All that built up to a few weeks ago when my parents told me they needed my help getting the house all fixed up because they're selling. This was the first time I heard about it, and they were like, "Oh, we told Sam." That really bothered me because I still live here and Sam doesn't. They said we needed to fix up stuff before the house can go on the market, and I said I didn't care, and they needed to ask Sam. They were like, "What?" And I said they should ask their favorite. You know, the one you told and the one you always treat better. I brought up the stuff I mentioned here and lots of other things. My parents got mad and said I was overreacting and I still needed to help. I told them to get Sam's help since he's the one they keep in the loop and prefer. My parents were mad and talked to my grandparents and got mad at them, and then Mom talked to my aunt, and that anger worsened because they all agreed with me. But my parents were like, I didn't get to throw that in their face like that, and I don't get to refuse to help. Then we got into a fight, and they're still mad at me. Stories. Number 9, my female co-workers touch me almost every day, and I'm starting to question what's really going on throwaway for obvious reasons. I don't want this linked to my main, 40M work in a professional office setting in the Midwest. I've been married to my wife, Emily, 38F, for 12 years. We have 2 kids, Lucas, 10M, and Sophie, 8F. For the record, I love my wife deeply, and I am not looking for validation, attention, or anything outside of my marriage. But here's the thing. I work in an office where 80–85% of my co-workers are women, mostly in their mid-30s to mid-40s, and almost daily, sometimes multiple times a day, at least one of them touches me. I'm not talking about hugs or anything overtly sexual. It's usually a pat on the arm, a hand on my shoulder, sometimes even brushing my chest when passing by. The most common is when someone walks up to my desk and puts their hand briefly on my bicep while asking me something. It's not aggressive. It's not threatening. I don't think they're trying to hit on me, but it is noticeable, and it happens a lot. Enough that my wife has noticed, and it bothers her. Some context, I'm considered conventionally attractive. I stay in shape. I'm friendly, approachable. I'm not oblivious to how I come across. The women who touch me are almost always peers, not supervisors. None of them are above me in the chain of command. Many of them are married. A few talk openly about their husbands and kids while standing there with their hand on my shoulder. I don't initiate it, ever. I don't touch them back. I keep my hands to myself. They don't really do it to each other, at least not that I've seen. Definitely not to other men in the office. I don't feel unsafe. If I did, I'd go to HR in a second. But I don't. Why I'm posting? Because I'm fascinated by this, and honestly, I'm conflicted. On one hand, it doesn't bother me personally. On the other hand, it does bother my wife, especially since one of these women touched me at a work social event right in front of her. We were at a dinner last fall. My coworker Rachel, 42F, came up to me, put her hand on my chest as she was laughing at a joke I made, and Emily's face immediately changed. Rachel must have noticed, because she turned to my wife and apologized, saying, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean anything by that." Emily played it cool at the time but later told me in the car, "You know that's not okay, right? Imagine if it were the other way around. If you touched a female coworker like that in front of her husband, you'd probably be fired." She's right. If the roles were reversed, it would be a whole HR nightmare. Talking with Emily when I brought it up again recently, Emily's stance surprised me. She doesn't want me to address it directly. She's afraid that if I confront these women, it will cause workplace fallout, gossip, awkwardness, maybe even retaliation. Her exact words, "We women fought for years to not be touched at work. If we don't want hypocrisy, we should hold ourselves to the same standard. It's not your job to fix their behavior, it's theirs." She trusts me. She knows I'm not encouraging it, but she also admitted it makes her uncomfortable and, honestly, a little insecure. She said it's less about what they're doing and more about how casual and normalized it seems to be. Why do they do it? That's the part I'm trying to understand. These aren't young interns or people with poor boundaries. These are middle-aged, professional women. A few theories. Social habit. Maybe it's just how they express friendliness, the way some people are huggers, testing boundaries. Maybe they know I won't push back, so it becomes an unconscious habit. Subtle flirting. Not necessarily trying to cheat, but maybe they like the attention of a fit, friendly guy around the office. Power dynamic flip. Since women are usually the ones policed about physical contact, maybe they feel safer expressing it toward a man, assuming he won't take it badly. But the truth is, I don't know. A recent incident just last week, my coworker Melissa, 39F, came by my desk to ask me about a report. As she leaned over, she put her hand on my shoulder and squeezed lightly. Totally casual, like it was second nature. Right after, she walked away. One of the only other men in the office, Greg, 45 Emmy, looked at me and raised an eyebrow. Later at lunch, he said, "Dude, they're always all over you. What's that about?" That was the first time another guy actually called it out, which made me realize it's not just in my head. Where I stand, I'm not going to HR. It doesn't feel like harassment, and I don't want to blow up my workplace over something that, in my gut, feels more cultural than predatory. I don't encourage it. I don't touch back. I keep my boundaries, but I also don't fully understand it. And I can't ignore the double standard. If I were a woman posting this about male coworkers, the advice would be unanimous. HR immediately, no questions asked. So here I am, posting it to Reddit instead. Edit. After talking more with Emily, we had another conversation about it. She reiterated that she trusts me, but she still doesn't like it. She told me, "If it bothers me, then you need to at least be mindful. I don't expect you to police them, but I expect you to show me you take my feelings seriously." That stung a little because I realized she doesn't want me to fix it for the office. She wants me to fix it for our marriage, even if that just means pulling back a little more, making it clear in subtle ways that I'm not open to that kind of contact. And she's right. TLDRI, 40 work in an office full of women. Almost daily, multiple coworkers touch my arm, shoulder, or chest casually. I don't encourage it, don't reciprocate, and don't feel unsafe. But my wife, 38F, notices and it bothers her. I'm not sure if it's innocent, subconscious, or low-key flirting, but it raises a double standard. If the roles were reversed, this would be a major issue. Update. My female coworkers keep touching me, and it finally came to a head. Hey Reddit. It's Jason again. A few weeks ago I posted about how my female coworkers touch me almost daily, on the arm, shoulder, chest, and how it was starting to cause tension at home with my wife, Emily. I honestly didn't expect the post to blow up the way it did. A lot of you had strong opinions, some telling me to go to HR immediately, others telling me to relax because it's just how people bond. I read every comment, even the harsh ones, and as much as I wanted to brush it off, something happened recently that forced me to take it more seriously. The escalation. About 2 weeks after my original post, my coworker Melissa, 39F, came over to my desk to talk about a client file. Same, as always, hand on the shoulder, leaning in close. But this time, she didn't just rest her hand there. She slid it slightly down my arm while talking. It wasn't overtly sexual, but it lingered in a way that immediately set off alarm bells. I pulled back in my chair, probably more abruptly than I intended, and said, "Hey, can you grab that report for me?" Just to change the moment. She looked at me funny but didn't say anything. Later that day, another coworker, Rachel, 42F, the one who had touched me in front of Emily at the work event, came into my office to ask about scheduling. Mid-sentence, she reached out and adjusted my tie. Like, actually straightened it with both hands. I froze. I didn't know what to do. That felt way too intimate, especially since Emily and I had just talked about how I needed to be mindful. After Rachel left, Greg, 45M, the other guy in the office, popped his head in. He just shook his head and said, "Man, if you ever did that to them, you'd be in HR before lunch." And he's right, talking with Emily. Again that night, I told Emily everything. I even reenacted the tie moment just so she'd understand how uncomfortable it was. Her reaction was calmer than I expected. She said, "I trust you, Jason. But now you're seeing what I mean. It's not just casual anymore. They're pushing boundaries." Then she said something that stuck with me. "I don't want to be the jealous wife, but I also don't want to feel like I'm competing with women who should have no place in our marriage. You don't need to go nuclear, but you do need to start protecting the space around you." That hit me, because she wasn't accusing me of anything. She was asking me to take her feelings seriously and how I handle myself at work. my attempt at subtle boundaries. The next week, I made some small changes. When someone touched me, I'd take a small step back or shift in my chair. Nothing dramatic, just enough to break the contact. If they reached for me while talking, I'd redirect by picking something up or gesturing with my hands. I also started keeping my office door half closed when working, just to limit how casual people could be about walking in. At first, it seemed to work. Melissa stopped touching my arm so much. Rachel backed off a little. I figured maybe they got the hint. The happy hour incident then came last Friday. Our office went out for a happy hour. Emily didn't come this time. She had to take Sophie to a birthday party. So it was just me and the work crowd. Things were fine at first. Drinks, laughs, casual conversation. Then, after a couple rounds, Rachel leaned against me while laughing at something Greg said. Like, full-on leaned her shoulder into my chest and kept it there. I froze again. Everyone else laughed like it was nothing, but I felt this overwhelming sense of wrongness. It wasn't even about me anymore. It was about Emily. I could practically hear her voice in my head. Protect the space around you. So I gently stepped aside, smiled, and excused myself to the bathroom. When I came back, I sat on the other side of the table. Rachel noticed. She didn't say anything, but the look on her face told me she knew what I had done. Monday morning fallout. Come Monday, things felt different. Rachel was colder than usual. Melissa was unusually quiet around me. Even Sandra, 41F, another co-worker who usually just pats me on the arm in passing, barely made eye contact. At lunch, Greg sat down with me and said, "You pissed them off, didn't you?" I just laughed it off, but inside I was uneasy. It's like by quietly resisting, I had shifted the dynamic, and not in a way that made my work environment easier. Where I'm at now. So here's the update. I haven't gone to HR because I don't feel like it's reached that level yet. But I am documenting things now just in case. I've been more intentional about setting boundaries, even if it makes things a little awkward. Emily says she feels better now that I'm taking action. Even small ones. She told me, "I'd rather you be the awkward guy at work than the guy who shrugs it off and leaves me feeling invisible. But I also worry that my coworkers are noticing the distance and interpreting it as me being unfriendly. I don't want to create hostility in the office. I like my job. I like most of these women. But I also can't pretend it's fine anymore." The bigger question. What really eats at me is the double standard. I'm a grown man. I don't feel threatened. But if the roles were reversed, if I were touching female coworkers every day, it would be over for me. So why is it okay for them? Why is it brushed off as innocent when I'm the one being touched? I don't have an answer. But I do know this. Emily deserves a husband who respects her comfort more than he fears awkwardness at the office. And that's the path I'm trying to take, even if it gets messy. TLDR update. Things escalated when coworkers started pushing physical boundaries more openly, fixing my tie, leaning against me at happy hour. I've started quietly setting boundaries, stepping back, breaking contact, distancing myself socially. It's created some tension at work, but Emily feels better knowing I'm taking her feelings seriously. I still haven't gone to HR, but I'm keeping notes now. Final update. Months later. My female co-workers kept touching me. Here's how it ended. Hey Reddit, Jason, here again. I figured I owed you all one last update since so many of you followed along with my original post and my update. A lot has happened in the last few months, and things have finally settled down in a way I didn't expect. The slow build of tension. After my last update, I kept doing the small boundary-setting things, stepping back, redirecting, keeping my office door closed. It worked, but it also created tension. Rachel barely spoke to me unless it was strictly about work. Melissa acted like nothing happened, but you could feel the shift. Sandra went neutral. Polite, professional, nothing extra. Greg, the other guy in the office, joked that I was breaking up the sorority, which made me laugh, but also, yeah, kind of. The vibe wasn't the same anymore. The incident that changed everything. Then about 2 months ago, something happened that pushed things past the point of quiet discomfort. We had a quarterly staff meeting in the big conference room. Everyone was chatting before it started, coffee cups in hand. Out of nowhere, Rachel came up behind me and massaged my shoulders. Not just a pat, like an actual 10-15-second shoulder rub in front of everyone. I froze. Everyone laughed, like it was this cute, funny thing. But my stomach dropped. Because I knew, if the roles were reversed, I'd be dead in the water. So I turned around, smiled politely, and said, "Hey, let's not do that." The room went silent. Rachel blinked at me like I'd slapped her. She stammered something about "just kidding" and sat down. The meeting went on, but the energy was weird. HR gets involved, without me. Later that week, HR called me into their office. Apparently someone else had witnessed the shoulder massage and reported it. I still don't know who. It wasn't Greg, but I have a feeling it was Sandra. HR asked me a bunch of questions. Was this ongoing? Did I feel uncomfortable? Did I want to file a complaint? I told them the truth. Yes, it's been happening for a long time. No, I didn't feel unsafe. But, yes, it crossed boundaries, and I was trying to handle it quietly. They were surprisingly professional. They told me they'd address it as a general reminder about workplace conduct, without naming me directly. The aftermath at work. The following week, HR held a short Respect in the Workplace refresher for our team. No names, no finger-pointing, just the usual corporate slides. Be mindful of personal space, physical contact can be misinterpreted, etc. But everyone knew why it was happening. And everyone knew it was because of Rachel's little massage moment. After that, the touching stopped. Completely. No more arm pats, no more shoulder squeezes, no more tie adjustments. Melissa went back to being friendly, but hands-off. Sandra actually warmed up a bit. I think she respected that I never escalated things unnecessarily. Rachel, though, yeah, she never forgave me. We're civil, but the easy camaraderie is gone. Honestly, I'm fine with that. Talking with Emily when I told Emily everything. She hugged me and said, "Thank you. You handled that exactly the right way." She admitted that in the beginning, she worried I'd just brush it off forever. But she said seeing me set boundaries, even when it was awkward, meant more to her than anything. Her exact words were, "You didn't just protect our marriage, you protected your integrity." That meant the world to me, where things stand. Now, so here's where I've landed, months later. No one touches me at work anymore, period. Things are slightly more formal, but honestly, that's fine. Work isn't supposed to be summer camp. Emily and I are stronger than ever. We even laugh about it now. She'll tease me if someone stands too close in line at Starbucks. "Careful, Jason, don't start a scandal." Rachel and I are cordial, but distant. It is what it is. And I've learned that boundaries aren't rude. They're necessary. Final reflection. The double standard was real. I'll never forget how quickly everyone laughed off that shoulder massage, when if I had done the same thing, I'd have been escorted out of the building. But I also learned that you can't control other people. You can only control how you respond. And sometimes, even small boundary setting creates ripple effects. If I'd kept quiet, it would have kept escalating. Instead, I drew the line, and things changed. Not perfectly, not cleanly, but enough. And honestly, that's all I wanted. TLDR. Final update. Rachel crossed the line with a shoulder massage during a staff meeting. HR got involved. Not because of me. Someone else reported it. HR gave a workplace conduct refresher, and since then, all touching has stopped. Work is more formal now, but I feel relieved, and my wife Emily feels respected. Things aren't perfect socially, but my boundaries are clear, and I can finally put this behind me. Stories. Number 10. My sister wants to use a burial plot she doesn't own. My sister, 54F, and I, 63M, are estranged for a lot of reasons. She was the golden child. I was given a '63 Chevy pickup when I got my driver's license. She got a Mustang convertible. I went to college and she did drugs, and had children without marriage. I got student debt. She got a mobile home, which she of course lost due to drugs. She had 2 wonderful kids that we were able to get taken from her and are doing well. Our father raised them. My father and mother were divorced in the 1970s due, in part, to the stress of my sister. My mother tried to help her. She let her live with her and helped her get jobs, but she always relapsed. So now to the present situation. My father died 4 years ago and I bought him a nice burial plot in Bozeman, MT. The plot is in my name and is in a very nice location in the Veterans section. My mother died last summer. I went up and was at the hospital when she died. My sister was nowhere around. We were able to reconnect without her. My mom's will stated that my sister and I were supposed to get the house jointly, but somehow she got on the deed by right of survivorship, which meant she got it. She tried to get me to help pay the remaining mortgage, but that wasn't going to happen, so she had to sail and I bought it. She was mad and took Mom's remains and disappeared, so we couldn't hold a ceremony. Now 6 months later, she reappears and says that she's paying for a burial. But here is the catch. My mother is a veteran, so she has a veteran group to pay for the room, the VA for the headstone, and I get a call from the funeral home asking if they bury her with Dad, someone who was divorced from for 50 years. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. In addition to the headstone, Mom might also be eligible for burial at a U.S. veteran cemetery for free. Locate her DD24 if you haven't already made other burial plans. Reply, we told her she could be buried for free at a national cemetery. My guess is she loves the plot I snagged for my dad, and I admit it is nice. But why is OP responding to his sister? Reply, I am not responding to her. I have no way to respond to her. She blocked me a while ago. We have talked through lawyers, like the little prick who got her on the deed so the will was useless. The only reason I found out about this at all was the funeral home realized that the plot wasn't owned by my sister or my mother and tracked me down. They had my number because they buried my dad. OP explains why he is not burying his mother's ashes with his father's. Reply, well, there are two things. The grandkids want to get their grandma buried and away from my sister. They don't have the history I have with Mom and Dad. They saw them together without the fighting. So they want to get it done. They want to be able to visit them. My niece does take her kids to visit my dad's grave. So this is a factor. Giving in to my sister just makes me sick. I was going to buy a plot when Mom died last summer, but she run with the remains. Now there is no time, so I am backed into a corner, and the kids are more important than my hurt feelings. But I get to write the obituary update. My sister is 57, not 54. My parents' divorce was official in 83, but they separated in 78 or so. I corrected this by answering some commenters. Was she really a terror as a kid? She got in drugs at 10, and was sneaking in boys at 13 when I was at college. This was 78-83. I was old of state. My father was retired Navy and there was a recession. My mom did work, but it was a strain. I went through college on student loans, scholarships and jobs. They tried treatment and buying her good behavior. My brother basically quit the whole thing and joined the Army. He was a member of the 101st, so we are not all screwed up. Now the update. I talked to the funeral home today. It seems that my sister's plan was to place my mom's remain in the veteran wall at the cemetery. But Bozeman Cemetery is not part of the national cemetery system. Normally a wall interment would be free for a veteran, but since Bozeman isn't part of the system, it is $500. So she points at Dad's plot and said, bury her there. The rest is history. The funeral calls me when they figure out the plot isn't owned by her or my dad, and here we are. I am trying to see if we can get the wall slot again. The remains are back at the funeral home. Arg, family. Update 1. So, the short backstory? My sister is a bitch who is holding my mother's remains hostage to get her way. She wants to bury my mother in the plot I own that I buried my father in. They have been divorced for more than 40 years. The update. After some research, I offered to pay to enter my mother in the veteran wall. My sister threw a fit. Not directly to me, we don't talk. She just let the funeral home know she wouldn't return the remains. I would have to buy a few plot, but I just bought a house and I am furnishing it so money it tight. She knew that. It was Mom's house and she is mad I bought it. She has driven by it several times. I am about to put it out on the short-term rental market. So after talking to my family, the grandchildren and others, I have thrown in the towel. We are burying Mom in Dad's plot. She will have an eye-ground brass marker. It kills me that my sister has reduced my mom's service to a brass welcome mat to my father's headstone. My family has said they will know, but damn it hurts. My sister cannot take some money from the sale of the house and buy a plot or split the cost with me. Additional information, OP. I guess this is a small update. I talked to the funeral home yesterday. My sister will be bringing the remains on the day of the burial and watching them. So switching it really isn't a possibility. I have to go back up this summer, so I am going to look as arranging reinterning her then. At least it wouldn't be above freezing. Relevant comments. OP explains his mother's background and her wishes after death. My mom is a veteran too. I am very proud of her service from 56 to 61. She could have been a secretary or medical assistant, but decided to be an electronic technician. Not many females of those in the Navy. She worked on the early communication systems for the nuclear submarines in Rhode Island and San Diego. Leading-edge technology at the time. Last I talked to her, she wanted her ashes to spread in the mountains. Why my sister is insisting on this burial and holding the ashes hostage is a mystery. I am actually surprised I haven't had a ransom note yet. OP provides details on why he is renting his mother's house. Out reply. I should add to this. The house was built in 2014, so wasn't the family home, but my sister smokes like crazy. It smelled bad. The carpet was stained, as were the walls and window coverings. The garage floor was stained with dog pee and smelled, so we tore out the carpet and painted with Cliz. We sealed the garage floor and put in new window treatments. The dishwasher had leaked, so we had to mold remediation, and the HVAC system had issues. So we expect, with the market, to get a positive return in 2 years or so. Then we can come back and remodel the bathrooms and move in or keep it for income. That was my Christmas holiday. Putting my mom's retirement house back into proper condition. I think she would like it. OP shouldn't give in to his sister's demands. Reply. Well, with mother gone, she has lost her last chip in the game. We haven't spoken in years except through lawyers or via my mother. She lost the house she inherited and has had to move far from Bozeman. Her kids hate her. Her grandkids run to me when I come up there. My son used to like her but now can't stand her after what she pulled at his sister's wedding. She won this one, but really at what cost? Why did the cemetery allow this mess to happen regarding placing OP's mother in his father's plot? Reply. The cemetery didn't. Once they realized this plot she was talking about, they called me for permission. That is what started this mess. Update 2. Today is the day of the burial. I was going to update afterwards just to say we got it done. But the last 20 hours hit. My sister canceled the room at the funeral home and made it a graveside service only. She got a refund for the room. The reason she gave, they are shooting guns for the salute and that should be outside. I found out when the funeral home called last night to ask me to pick up the urn and take it to the grave. My sister is in a wheelchair and cannot come graveside. I sent the word out on the family message and her son, the only one who talks to her, exploded, as did her daughter. He called and she cried. An honest answer would probably be, I needed drug money and the disability check is days away, but... So I arranged to get a table at a military-themed restaurant in Bozeman. If you are from the area, you know the one. And we will gather there to tell stories. Just a few minutes ago I get a call from the funeral home, and they were offering a room at a discount, but we are sticking with our plans. Some comments I would like to make. Some people think I am blaming my sister for becoming addicted to drugs and alcohol at 10. I am not. I blame my parents for moving to a drug-rich area, the government for not handling the drug issue, and the medical establishment for not seeing addiction as the disease it was at the time. My post would be much longer if I went into the social and political issues of the late 70s and early 80s, and how it broke up the nuclear family. I blame my parents for trying to buy her good behavior and a recession for the stress that ended their marriage. They also never forced her to finish school, which limited her ability to succeed. I blame her for wasting the multiple opportunities she was given as an adult. She was given a car, repossessed, a mobile, lost because she spent the welfare money on drug instead of space rent, a truck, partially restored 63 Chevy C10, sold for drug money, lost custody of 2 kids. How have turned out well? This list doesn't include the money she has taken from people over the years. As far as this funeral goes, my mother would have been buried in her home state of Pennsylvania near her family. But in September if my sister hadn't raked her remains and disappeared. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. You may want to check ownership of that plot. If she is anything like my sibling, she may have sold it from under the family. My sibling trashed all the living trust information our parents had set up. I tried to get them to change it years ago. They didn't. Now they are stuck and I can't help them or myself. Reply: this all started when my sister sent out a message that she paid for the funeral for Mom, who died in September, and she took the remains while her daughter and I were in the process of planning the funeral. I got a call from the funeral home, same one that buried my dad 4 years ago, that she told them to bury her in the same plot. They have been divorced since 1983. She found out that it cost her to bury her in the Veteran Wall in Bozeman because it had not achieved the VA approval yet. I bought that plot for my dad. Commenter 2. In your earlier post you said the VA paid for the room, but she got the refund when she canceled. I feel like that's something she could get into a lot of trouble for, no? Reply: I believe you are. Referring to the $500 that the state of Montana provides to veterans for burials I mentioned. The VA pays for the markers and a plot in a national cemetery. But your point is taken. I am wondering what the costs were. Commenter 3. Could you possibly move your mom later? We have had issues like this in our home country, where they went and disturbed my aunt's remains just to put someone not related to us that everyone was opposed to. It was wild, but it's kind of done. But if your parents were divorced, why would they be kept together? I guess I would only put them together if I myself wanted to be close to both of them. I am sorry for your losses. I am sorry for your sister being so troubled. I hope she can find a way out and mental health assistance. Reply: that is what we are thinking of doing this summer. Update 3. The service was Thursday at 1, and the American Legion Gallatin Valley Post 14 did the final salute with the rifle volley and taps. The Navy sent an officer and enlisted to do the flag presentation. I told them about her service and said some words to the people who came, but being in a snow-covered field limited who could come. Afterwards we meet at a restaurant and told stories. The grandkids were really interested in what kind of mother she was and was surprised when we told them she drove a motorcycle to work. Now I am sure you are interested in what happened with my sister. When I arrived at the funeral home I was shocked to find what little she had arranged for. I drove her remains to the gravesite, and my brother actually put them into the ground. At my dad's funeral we arranged for a hearse to take his remains up to the cemetery. It was a little funny. Me, my wife, my brother, and my mom's urn took a quick drive down Main Street, Bozeman, so we could say goodbye before hitting the cemetery. Well, while the ceremony was going on, a SUV came up. It was my sister watching from the road. I arranged for the flag to go to my brother since I had my dad's flag. I could see her shouting as he was presented the flag. After that, we each said something over the grave and headed to our cars. My sister called her son over and handed her 2 bags containing vials of mom ashes for him and my niece. At the restaurant, they gave them to me and my brother. They are great kids. She then drove by yelling at me for ruining the ceremony or something, then drove off. So that's it until summer, when we will decide to either move Mom to Pennsylvania to be with her family. My brother is looking into that issue, or a national cemetery, or we scatter her ashes. I would like to address some comments made. Why am I short-term renting the house? My initial plan was long-term rental until my wife and I retired in 2 to 3 years. My son, while working on the house, has fallen in love with Montana and wants to move up at the end of summer, so we are short-term renting until then. I have met with some neighbors and given them my contact information in case a client gets out of hand. The house is near ski and outdoor adventure activities, so I don't see a problem. I do not blame my 10-year-old or 13-year-old sister. It is the 30-plus-year-old woman who never taken the opportunities to get straight seriously. I also blame my parents, but they paid with their marriage and the fact they never had the retirement they wanted. I also blame the government, but that is a major rant. Why didn't I take her kids? I tried, but in California they will fight to keep the kids with a bad mother. My wife and I would buy groceries and take it to them. I took the kids to the dentist, but we were limited to what we could do, and she knew if she gave up the kids she would lose a bargaining chip. It was a cloak and dagger operation to get the kids to Montana, and then in front of a judge that finally saved them. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Didn't your sister say they were shooting guns off at the funeral? Yep, they don't do that. My dad was Navy retired. He was in for 25 years. He was buried 5 years ago. They sent 2 soldiers to escort the urn and stand at attention, but that is the extent of it. I would take everything your sister says with a grain of salt. It sounds like she lies a lot. So I would not spend too much time on that, the things she says and her behavior. Reply, I was there. The American Legion Post fired a salute for both my dad and mom. They provide the shell casing to the family afterwards. Commenter 2. I'm sorry, I know this isn't funny, but all I can imagine is some crazy lady doing drive-bys and yelling out the window at a funeral service. Commenter 3. Glad you finally got it all resolved and you said goodbye to your mom. Update 4. So it has been 7 months or so. I am in the process of moving my mother's remains to the Veterans Wall. There are some issues we are still working on, but the process is in motion. It has been an experience. I have learned a lot. The VA considered her buried, so she isn't entitled to free burial anymore. They lost her marker in the mail, so she doesn't have one. We are working that out, trying other get one for the wall. The charge to de-intern her is astronomical, but I will live with that. In the meantime, we ended the short-term rental of the house and my son has moved in. While short-term renting was interesting, it was stressful too. We paid the mortgage and taxes, so it did its job. Bill collectors kept coming for my sister and to pick up the medical equipment she rented for my mother, that she failed to return. That was interesting to explain to our renters. I got calls from creditors for my sister asking for her location. She has changed her phone number and disappeared. They also wanted to know if I inherited or bought the house. It seems my sister was on my mother's credit cards and ran up some debt, so they were going after her. If I had inherited the house, they were going to claw it back. So I had to create a PDF with the records to send when I got these calls to show I bought the house and that I was cut out of the will by my sister. That seems to have ended the calls for now. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. You are so patient. I am envious. We are having issues with my oldest brother-in-law and lawyers are involved. I actually refused to accompany my husband when they all went to sign off on selling one of the properties because I could not promise to keep a civil tongue. Reply, it helps she has disappeared, and I live in San Diego. I am retiring in the next 2 years, so if she is around Bozeman, we may run into each other. I do know she lost a leg to diabetes. She never took care of herself. Our father had diabetes and never had the issues she has. He stopped smoking and drinking. She didn't. But that is all I know, and I know that because she tried guilt-tripping her kids. Commenter 2. Quit answering these calls. If you do, demand they cease calling and that all correspondence be on paper. Again, quit answering the phone. Do you have a probate executor? This should all be handled by them. They may have waited too long to be paid by the estate and are fishing. Reply, normally I would agree with you, but this involved an actual legal issue. If there are outstanding debts, they need to be taken care of before transferring deeds. They were confirming the house was a sale and not some sort of a sham sale. I hate those collectors who call the kids going with the, you want your parents walking around in the afterlife, burdened by these debts on their souls. They are trying to get you to pay anything on the debt, then claim you own the whole thing. Commenter 2. If the estate is managed right, a notice of death in publication, and a set time periods that loaners, banks, etc. get to file for payment, if they miss the cutoff date, they are out of luck. Reply, and if the estate is managed by a person who isn't honest, who will not tell the union that the person has died so they can collect a few more months of retirements. There is a lot going on with questionable lawyers who will not let me see the will. Funky changes in the deed, etc. Most papers will not allow just anyone to put in death notices. I tried. The good news is she paid herself. The original will was we inherited the house equally, but she had the right to live there. I promised my mom to live up to that. If she hadn't changed things, I would have had to help pay the mortgage and she would be living there. Ha! Dodge a bullet there.